Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Odin's Movie Blog. I am the critic who is a cynic. Hope you're doing well, and we finally have some box office numbers for Birds of Prey. And as Scotty Boy Mendelsohn over at Forbes.com has said, it's pretty troubling so far. So as it says, Birds of Prey nabs a troubling $4 million Thursday opening. And now the reason why this is troubling is for a few reasons. One, in the projections that the studio gave, this comes at the low end of their estimates, meaning that it's not performing what they thought and it's not overperforming what they thought. It means that at the bare minimum, that is exactly what it's made so far. The other reason why it's troubling is because out of all DCEU films, starting back with 2013's Man of Steel, this is the worst performing Thursday opening of any film, even doing worse than a film like Shazam, which ended up not making a whole lot at the box office. It was profitable by the end of its run, but was also not that much of a box office juggernaut itself. But even that film made about $2 million more than what Birds of Prey did, and went on to make well over $50 million in its opening weekend, something that Birds of Prey would be very lucky to make at this point in time. Now, Scott Mendelsohn does make the point that the film does not cost a whole lot in comparison to other bigger budget films like Suicide Squad or Batman v Superman, which is indeed true. It costs around $97 million to actually produce, which makes it the lowest costing DCEU film. Some might say, why isn't Joker included in that? Because Joker at this point in time is set in its own universe. It's set in its own world. It's not being shown at this point to have any tie-in or connection to the DCEU. When I say that, of course, the extended universe films like Batman v Superman, Justice League, things like that. Again, those are all tied in with one another. And so therefore, that obviously would be the lowest costing one. But out of all the DCEU films, this has the smallest budget, which means it has to make the least amount of money back in order to make back its money and in order to break even. And I'll actually get to the bare minimum that this film has to make globally in order for it to break even in a second. But I just think it's interesting that Scott Mendelsohn can't even cover up for the fact, even though he does try to by saying, well, you can't compare it to Suicide Squad. You can't compare it to these other films because of their budgets, because of all this other stuff. And that indeed might be true, which is why, in my opinion, the best film to compare this to would be Shazam, because it only made $2 million less than Shazam, and it also costs around the same amount of money as Shazam did. Shazam cost around $100 million. Again, Birds of Prey about $97 million, so very, very close there. And yet it's already underperforming in comparison to Shazam, which makes me think that we can already assume that it's going to underperform next to Shazam in every category. But of course, we can't really know that yet because it is still very early on in the box office run. But just remember, this is a rated R movie, meaning that the film audience is going to be quite limited compared to PG-13 films. And also because of that R rating and many other things, it is not going to be playing in China either, which other films in the DC franchise have been able to benefit from with large numbers. So as you can see here, not off to a great start, and I think that speaks volumes to the marketing campaign. I've been asking this question from the very beginning: who was this film made for? Because everyone's talking about, oh, well, it's doing very well. We're getting a lot of reviews back from critics, and they're loving it. Gee, I wonder why. It's very easy to dive into those reviews and see that politics is driving their narrative and is explaining why. Even Grace Randolph herself in her review said, well, representation's important. So even though the film's not very good, representation's important. So I'm going to give it a positive grade, which is just so ridiculously biased. It's insane. And then you have, of course, other people coming out, like the guy I talked about yesterday who gave it a 0 rating. And I think even that's probably a little bit too harsh. I think that somewhere in the middle is probably where I or many others will probably fall when it comes to this movie, where it's just not going to be that great of a film, but it's also not going to be total dog crap either. Of course, I haven't seen it yet, so I'm going to have to make up my mind for myself, as you all can make up your minds for yourselves as well as to whether you want to see this film or whether you're going to like this film overall. But based on what Jeremy said from Geeks and Gamers, he actually made a comment that he didn't think it was that woke, which is very good to hear. That being said, we cannot take away that marketing campaign for this film, which is the most troubling part of all of this. The marketing campaign for this film was terrible because it honestly had no idea who it wanted to market to. It wasn't marketing to a male audience. It seemed to be going more towards female power, and good job. You did that. You're probably going to drive more women to the theater, but you're going to do so by then driving away male audiences, of which the majority of comic book movies, the audiences are men. And again, that's just a verifiable stat at this point, that when it comes to comic movies, most of the time the audiences are going to be mostly men. And if you're driving away over half of your audience, that's going to cause some financial problems for you down the road. But the film overall is doing okay. So I actually have some reviews up from Odin's movie blog website, ombReviews.home.blog. If you want to go ahead and vote for this movie, rank this movie, or rank other films like it, click in the link in the description of this video, ombReviews.home.blog, and you can actually update this score. But as you can see, there are a couple people that love this movie, gave it straight 5s. One person who hated it gave it straight 1s, which means the overall grade right now is a 73.3. or a C rating. Here's the actual page for it. So again, it's not the best website in the world, but I think that it's pretty functional for being made completely free, except for the time that it takes for me to make these pages, which really doesn't take all that much time in the first place. But as you can see, it has all the movies in release and also future projects that are yet to come out as well. You can leave comments here, and I'm not going to delete them like Rotten Tomatoes does. And also, of course, you can leave ratings here, which I'm not going to delete like what Rotten Tomatoes does. But anyway, if you want to check out for yourself, ombReviews.home.blog. This one is /Birds of Prey, or you can follow the links. You can find it in right over here. You can go over to the scores section to see scores for many other films like Ford v Ferrari, The Grudge, Cats, all others. And there's other films that I want to put up here, but we're not getting enough ratings on them yet. And once we get a couple of ratings on those movies, I will then be able to actually put the scores out there. And basically it's pretty simple overall. And I know that I'm, kind of going off on this, but it's something that I want to push and I want to be able to promote. And as you can see, it's very simple. Again, there's these you have these forms for every single movie. You get to rate the acting, the editing, the cinematography, the writing, all out of 5, which basically is a grade of A, B, C, D, or F. Again, F being a 1, A being a 5. And then it goes ahead and averages all these scores. You also have a subjective score about, hey, these are the individual categories, how you rank them objectively, and then subjectively, what did you overall think of the film? I think it gives an overall fair score. Now, as far as the box office goes, the film made $4 million in its Thursday evening, which means right now it's still negative $143 million. So it's still in the red at this point, but that's obvious because it's a Thursday opening. So of course it's going to be in the red. So don't anyone go and say, oh my gosh, it's losing money. All films go through this process, but because of this, I was able to look into, okay, well, how much money does this film need to make in order to break even? And I found that the number is around $243 million. So in my Excel sheet, when I type in $243 million, it goes ahead and puts this at a positive rating, and it's the lowest number possible before it eventually goes into the positive rating. So the film needs to make worldwide $243 million. Now, can that film actually make that much money? It's definitely possible at this point. Again, it started $2 million less than what Shazam did. Shazam ended up doing over $300 million worldwide. So it seems to be indicative of the fact that this film likely will make well over $200 million worldwide. The big question is going to be, how well does it perform in other European countries? Does it perform well in the places like UK or France or Germany and other places where you have a much larger audience group? And also, is it going to be able to perform well here in the States? Based on a lot of pictures that I'm getting from tons of people sending me pictures, look at these empty theaters. Obviously, you know that I don't really take those fully because I do believe that there are theaters in some markets that are going to do well, some markets that are going to do not so well. And I think that you're going to find some mixture of truth somewhere in the middle of all of that. But if those pictures are to be believed, it seems that not a lot of people are really wanting to go see this film. It really doesn't seem like it's for comic book fans, seeing that they changed a lot of the characters and changed a lot of the dynamics from the comic books. So it seems to me like it would be something that would probably tick off a lot of comic fans. They didn't really make it for all audiences because they were very much saying, oh, women. Did we mention that it's directed and written by a woman? Oh, by the way, Margot Robbie is going to push this too. And oh, by the way, the only male character, the main male character is a misogynist, and that's all you can know about him. He hates people because he's misogynist. Okay. Gotcha. So who's this movie for again? And obviously from the $4 million total on Thursday, a lot of people are considering asking that question as well. But let me know your thoughts. Do you think that this is a troubling sign for the movie? Do you think the movie is going to make as much money as it was projected before? And even a website that I follow, again, the site that I follow for my long-range tracking, has had to make an update to its overall tracking. So with the Friday report update, it is now said that the film is set to make, at this point in time, less than what the original projection was. So their original projection had it set between $40 and $60 million. Again, between $40 and $60 million. And so therefore, the film now is set to make between 35 and 50 million. So again, originally they had it at 40 to 60. Now it's between 35 and 50 for the domestic box office opening weekend, and that means that the overall number is around $42 million that it's projected to make, meaning the film is likely going to come in well underneath the $55 million that have been projected by sites like Deadline and many other places, which if that holds, again, it's a big if that holds, and the numbers are coming in that lower, I think that you'll find yourself with a movie that it costs very little to make, has a very easy job just to make its money back, and yet might not be able to do so. So let me know your thoughts about that and all the things we talked about in the comments section below. If you like this video, smash the like button, give me a subscribe, it helps me a lot. You're all amazing and beautiful people. Have a wonderful day, and as always, God bless. And now to give a shout out to my February Patreon and Subscribe Star members, animation commentator Brian P., Dion, David Brobrizik. Please let me know if I need to repronounce that name. DivX, Elizabeth M., Enrique Evangelista, Father Christopher Miller, Frank the Tank and the Shawhan Weird Dog Clan, Harold Francis, The Hunky Chunky Funky Monkey, Inflamed Wood, Drop Productions, Jason Clark, Jeffrey Toon, Jeffrey Lebowski, JJ Jonathan Jerembeck, Kenneth Cameo, Lady T, Mad Mitch Dunaway, Mr. Peabody and his evil twin with the beautiful hair, Orange Hat Reviews, Outpost Dyer, Perpetual Punster, Riff Magos, Rosetta Allen, Steve Glasker, Teresa Martin, Theodore Bendon, The DJD Show, and Tina B. And over on Subscribestar, Robert Revo, Larry, Mr. Roy, Glinzer, G2 Cool 99, Darkstar 57, Alice McCarthy, US 888-209 Fast, Dean Heiss, Hild Francis, J-Rod the Beer Guru, Nebanon G. Adams, and ZK Man. Thank you very much for being my Patreon Subscribestar members for the month of February. And if anyone else decides to join, at the next couple of days or so, I will add you into this list as well. You guys freaking rock. Have a wonderful one. And as always, God bless.